Uh, Government has been talking over a last 30 years that I am associated with the MSME sector, that the access to credit should be increased. There are problems with the availability of credit, constraints in availability of credit, inadequacy of credit, and the terms and conditions not being favorable. So we should do something. And there have been plenty of reports and number of committees, starting from Tandon Committee, Chore Committee, Kapoor Committee, Bhattacharya Committee, and lastly ending in 2018 with Prabhat Kumar Committee. So all these committees have given their recommendations, but the things have not changed much. There is slight improvement because of the sensitization and stakeholders and the discussions that are taking place through various forums, but not much significant change. I can, quote some figures which would indicate the current status. For example, total credit in the banking system from all the banks, non-food credit that we'd call, because food credit is classified separately. Non-food credit, which is for industrial and other economic activities, amounted to a total of 138.5 lakh crore as on 31st May 2023. 138.5 lakh crore. Out of this, total credit to MSMEs, which includes micro, small, medium, amounted to merely 20.20 lakh crore. 20.20 lakh, say 20 lakh crore out of 138 lakh crore, 138 lakh crore. It comes to 14.5% of the total credit. So one can really understand when we say that MSME sector contributes 30% to the country's GDP, that is as per the government figures, Ministry of MSME. It contributes 40% to the country's manufacturing output, 40%. It contributes 45% of the country's exports, total exports. So, and of course, we know that it is the second largest employer in the country, next to agriculture. So when there is so much of importance of the MSME sector in the country and is contributing so significantly in the economic, overall economic activities of the country, why the availability of credit is only 14.5% of the total credit? So where does the major credit go? Is the large corporates, big companies, infrastructure sector, mining sector. So when, and build construction sector, all these big sectors, but then MSMEs, which are, as I said, are the backbone of the Indian economy, and we depend substantially on MSMEs for employment generation, particularly reaching out to far-flung areas, villages, small towns, so that some economic activity can be undertaken there and people can get self-employment opportunities. Then why not credit? We are sitting on the problems for the last 30 years that I see of non-availability of adequate credit, high interest rates, and collaterals. So these are, and apart from this, of course, collateral security and high interest rates and procedures and processes in application, sanction, disbursement, documentation, complicated processes, time taking. Above all these things comes the mindset, the approach of the lending institutions, particularly banks, and the mindset of the financiers. What is the mindset? What is the approach? That micro small sector is a high risk, is perceived to be a high risk sector. And people, since they are small ticket financing, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore. So they feel probably not only that it is a high risk sector, the time taken in processing and disbursement and the transaction cost is also high. So I can, mention about these factors with regard to the high risk that people perceive. Otherwise, why don't they lend? Any proposal which goes to the bank should be easily, given. Why do people keep complaining that we don't get credit? There are a number of people who approach me that we have applied, we are not getting. It takes months, in fact, for the banks to respond and give due consideration to the proposals. So if we talk of high risk, like perception with the bankers, I was going through the NPA figures, non-performing assets of the micro, small, medium enterprises. So this is a myth that MSME sector is a high risk, sector. The NPAs that I found, as per RBI data, in the Q1, that is a Q1 statement that RBI releases every quarter, aggregated total amount of NPAs of 1,31,928 crore. 1,31,928 crore. And these NPAs, if you compare from the last year's same quarter, quarter of 2022, it was 1,54,000. So from 1,54,000 last year, it came down to 1,31,000 this year in the first quarter. And how much percentage does it work out? 1,31,000, as I mentioned earlier, 20 lakh crore of credit, total credit. So 1,31,000 comes to hardly 6.5%. So 6.5%, I don't say that 6.5% is a good figure. It is high. There should not be NPAs of more than 2%. But if you compare with the large corporates, big industries, overall NPAs in the economy, they are more than 10%. So the large corporates, bigger entities, high amount of credit, the NPA percentage is much higher. And MSME sector, it is much lesser than the other sectors. So why do we say, why this is the perception that MSME sector is a high risk sector? And this mindset is not changing for the last, as I said, 30 years that I have been associated. So we need to address these problems, these challenges. Government has proactively, in fact, done a lot of things in the past. Government has introduced collateral security, collateral-free credit. Collateral-free credit, they have introduced the credit guarantee fund for micro and small enterprises, whereby, collateral-free lending is done up to, it was 2 crore earlier, now it has been raised from 2 crore to 5 crore. But the problem is implementation. How many banks are, willingly accepting the proposals to lend to the MSMEs based on the credit guarantee of the bank, of the government? They still ask for collateral security. In majority of the cases, people come and complain that banks are not interested and they are not giving, lending and on the basis of merely of credit guarantee. They want collateral security. So while we keep writing to the government also says, okay, you bring us specific cases and we will look into this. So while, specific cases, when they are referred to the government, they are followed up by the government and appropriate, action is taken and written to the bank so that, but then how many cases, specific cases can be referred? I would suggest that anybody who is facing this problem, not getting the credit collateral free and not accepting the credit guarantee, cover of the bank, you should always write on the MSME portal. There is a MSME champions portal. Under the champions portal, the ministry says that you mention the details and write to them, and within 24 hours, they are supposed to respond. So I am sure, and I have got the feedback also that information system is working very well. So you should write there and take it up at the level with the ministry, and you can also write to Power to SME in case you feel that Power to SME need to follow up. We will also do it through the chambers. But then this requires constant follow-up. So I will, leave here with these initial observations and context. We have two experts, in fact, today to discuss the practical aspects of the problem that we have in hand, and how do we address them, how the banks are helping, and what can be done, in fact, to resolve this problem. So I'll introduce my guest speakers. Mr. Ankit Kapoor, who is the co-founder and CEO of Electric Bee, and he is a very experienced, you know, expert panelist with 7+1, 7+ year experience in consulting, manufacturing, and supply chain, and he has been management consultant with McKinsey and E&Y, and has tremendous experience. Of course, he will let us know as to what are the practical difficulties, because he has been with the industry. He has been a principal consultant with McKinsey like companies, E&Y, and knows as to what are the pain points and how do we address them. So we have Mr. Ankit Kapoor, and then we have an expert from State Bank of India, a leading public sector bank. And he is Mr. Ravi Kaushal, who is the Chief Manager, State Bank of India, and is a very experienced banker. In fact, who is into consultancy and advisory services from the bank. So he is the best person, in fact, to tell us as to how the MSMEs should go about in getting this easy access from the banking system. So I would like to invite Mr. Ankit Kapoor first, who is the co-founder and CEO Electric Bee, to give his observations and particularly the pain points and the difficulties and what suggestions he can give, because he's a practical person. What suggestions he can offer to improve the flow of credit from the banking system to the MSME. So over to you, Mr. Ankit. Can you hear me?
Appreciate it. Firstly, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Dr.
Please go ahead.
Kumar?
Please go ahead.
Thank
Yes.
you for such a humble and warm welcome, Dr. Kumar. Greetings to everyone, all the panelists and esteemed members who are currently present in this webinar. I think I will skip the part of the introduction because I got a very warm welcome already from Dr. Kumar. And I will begin by sharing just one experience, and then probably want this conversation to be an extempore between our banking partners and our esteemed panelists. So right now I'm doing my third business, and we started this clean tech energy company around 2 years back. And we merely started this on a credit card and from the proceedings that I had from the sellout of my previous company. Now, why I had to do that is the interesting question. Me being a management consultant for a couple of years, also worked with some of my investment banking friends, wasn't able to secure clear loans from any private or public bank. Now, I know this doesn't sound the best thing, but the major reason was because we were a manufacturing enterprise, we were an MSME, and it was kind of too risky. I will add to what Dr. Kumar said a bit earlier, that yes, there are schemes like the CGT MSE, but if we go on the ground, we realize that the ratios, and this is a very, very basic example from my first-hand experience, the ratios that the banking institutions, and I'm not deriding the banking institutions from this fact, I understand that those guys have their own constraints. The ratios that these guys require are only fabricated in some sense because they are very, very hard to achieve, at least in the first 5 years of the business. So this is where we began, and we began without a proper loan from a banking institution, and this is where I'm coming from. I will get to suggestions and also how we proceeded further on in our journey. But I'd also like to hear from our.
Oh, thank you. I think it was a very, very crisp and very candid presentation. And the problems that I was explaining, probably you have restated those problems. So let us hear what our banker friend has to say. In fact, how does he perceive the SME sector? Whether he feels that the problems being faced by SME sector, MSME sector are genuine, or what they can do, in fact, to get better treatment from the banking sector. Maybe there are certain secrets that he can share as to how do we go about MSMEs particularly. And maybe there are some suggestions and recommendations that he can make. So I will invite Mr. Ravi Kaushalji, who is the Chief Manager, State Bank of India, and is a very experienced banker. He is 22 years plus experience, having worked in Northeastern Circle of SBI under various programs and various assignments. Presently, he is working in Consultancy Services Cell, Delhi, and he is responsible for specialized credit training program. So, credit training is, of course, a very important issue for MSMEs, and he being an expert in training the credit officers of the bank who are handling SME advances. I mentioned that the in my initial observations that the mindset and approach is very important. So training naturally should incorporate these things also. I'm sure Raviji should be taking care of these aspects also because they have to have a better approach towards the MSMEs. And then industry studies, providing guidance and counseling to entrepreneurs under SME facilitation, conducting TEV studies also of large value projects and devising rehabilitation and restructuring packages. So it's a very, very exhaustive experience that Mr. Ravi Kaushal has, and we would be happy, in fact, to hear you, Raviji. You can take your time. If you want to make a presentation, we'll be happy. Otherwise, you can make your
Yeah,
the
good afternoon, sir,
course.
and thank you very much for having a very crisp and brief information about our department. And first of all, I would like to share about the department because what sir has told, that is our department was created way back in 1970. Obviously, the age of our bank is almost 215 years, and particularly in SBI, our department's age is almost 50 years. So when the nationalization of bank was done in 1969, because prior to 1969, because this information is very much important for all our participants, because I will say it is better until and unless you cannot understand the present, until and unless you don't understand the past. So that's why before 1969, this was the that was the class banking. So just like today we are having a Adani or Reliance, by that time Tata Birla was there. So bank were opening the accounts of only those giants. So by that time, the government thought now it is the time to entertain the entrepreneur or the SME. SME was the beginning. That was the beginning of that. So during that time in 1970, what sir has introduced about our department. So our department was basically the enabler. So what are all the challenges right now? But I'll be telling to you, or most of the challenges you might be knowing already. So those keeping giving solution to those challenges only our department was formed. So our department was by that time some 200 engineers were recruited from premium institutes and IITs during that time. They were trained, and their job was not to do the just the job what they are doing right now. They were, means their job was to do the work along with the entrepreneur. They used to go along with the promoter. They used to spend time, not 2 or 3 days. You will be surprised to know almost 6 months with the entrepreneur. They used to go along with the entrepreneur, with the bank. They used to understand what are all the problems he is facing, and then with his best resources available to him, he was to solve this problem. So that was the background. So during these 50 years, our nation also they progressed, the situation also they changed their reforms. So now coming today, but now we are discussing about the MSME. So MSME, obviously sir has told what are the percentage is contributing to the GDP, but I like about the SME is it is almost contributing 50% to the export of the nation. So that number is really surprising, because this number 50% is done by SME. It means 50% is done by the big corporate like Adani, Reliance, and many. It means being a very smaller in size, being, and after having a very little amount of resources, still they are able to manufacture the quality of the product which has got the acceptability in the international market. So that is really a commendable job, because for the corporate it is very easier, because he has got a good capital in his hand, he can hire the talent, he can hire the maybe a good consultant for improving the quality of the product. But for MSME, most of the MSME what we are having right now, 50% of them are not graduates. You will be surprised to know. But despite that, they are able to manufacture good quality product. So what can we do about it? So this is the present situation. And sir has rightly told about the two or three things. Obviously, there is a technology is the bigger constraint. Technology is the biggest constraint, which our most of the MSME are not knowing about this. And the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, you are thinking. There is a data mining. Many things, new things are coming, which corporates there will be having a good financial muscle with them, but our tiny MSME, they may not be able to access those things. So that is the challenges, obviously. So these are the two things which I like. And now coming to the finance side. So before telling the problem, what are the problems in finance somebody is having, I would like to address something. What are all the schemes we have? Obviously, the schemes. There may be many. Probably, I think the group might be having some entrepreneur. Maybe there may be three categories: those who are already in the business. There may be the entrepreneurs who have just started the business, or there may be entrepreneurs who are just thinking of doing the business. So our Mudra scheme is there. The amount is almost 10 lakhs. It is for those entrepreneurs which are not having a sufficient or adequate capital with them. So with the help of Mudra loan, they can avail the loan up to the amount of 10 lakhs. So it will not having any asking any collateral security for that. And the margin is also very less. Margin is the amount which entrepreneur has to contribute. Obviously, if the project demand says something 100 rupees, out of that the every bank they require some 20 or 30% or 10% stake in that, and the rest of the amount is given by the bank. So those schemes, it is the first, just like a child who takes his first step. So this Mudra loan is the right choice for starting the business. Now coming to the next scheme, we have got this PMEGP scheme. PMEGP scheme is also supporting your finance with the help of subsidy. So what they do, suppose, but the amount is very less. Mudra loan was up to 10 lakhs. Acha, another thing I would like to discuss here, I am not going to tell you what is the rate of interest or the details for that. Okay, if you have any question, I'll be telling you the detail. But broadly here, we need to understand that, okay, what is available in the financial basket, so that according to their need, they can assess and go to the bank and just ask, okay, this is my financial need. So this particular scheme or category is best suited for me. So in in PMAGP scheme, it is the government sponsored scheme. In that, if your project amount is 25 to 30 lakhs, then you can go for that. In that, the government also gives you a subsidy for 10 to 15%, and provided, and DIC is the forwarding agency for your application. You can compile your project report and you can apply in that. Recently, I attended one seminar in which that is also another organization who's supporting MSME, but particularly the women entrepreneurs. So they conducted, they shortlisted some 2,000 women from pan India basis, and ultimately they selected some 184 women entrepreneurs, and they just awarded them with the suitable certificate and the monetary prize also. So those, I think, and the last session, why I'm citing you regarding this particular seminar, because in the last some 10 or 15 women entrepreneurs, they came to me and then they asked regarding this PMEGP scheme. Obviously, they're doing very small business. Somebody was doing say 30 lakhs business, but they were 30 lakhs, they were cost of project was 30 lakhs, but their turnover was 1 crore, 2 crore. And there was some surprising job business also. Two or three lady women entrepreneur I met. They were doing what they were doing. Their concept was very good. They were telling ki, yes, most of the Indians, like you might have seen the Punjab, the person from Punjab, they like to settle in Canada. Our Indians are also settling in Australia. They are also going to America. for their job and for their say livelihood. But the Indian habits, they like to have their Indian food, they like to still maintain their culture, and they like to wear the same clothing. So that's why these lady, they were exporting to Australia, Canada, and America, and they were having a very good turnover of 2 to 3 crores, and a good even though the profit was not that much, but despite having a 30 or 40 lakhs of investment, if some lady entrepreneurs is able to get say 10 or 15% of profit, it is good enough. So that's why some 3 or 4 lady entrepreneurs, I gave an example for this PMEGP scheme. So they were very much happy. They were telling me, sir, it is a very good thing. Suppose the government is also giving the subsidy in that. So apart from that, the sir has also talked about the collateral security. Yes, I do believe most of the bankers, because of having uh, lack of their knowledge of maybe a lack of training or not understanding the market or industry, most of the thing when they don't understand the project fully from the clients or the entrepreneurs, they go for the collateral. In their back of the mind, it is like that, okay, if collateral is there, this collateral is going to save their loan if it goes bad. But I do believe in that. I never believe in this particular thing, because what I believe in, if the loan goes bad, even the collateral is not going to help that, because it is very difficult. Suppose the collateral, somebody is given a collateral for say land or so, it is very difficult to get the realizable value of the same amount what they have put it in the at the time of taking the loan. So that's why it is very much required to tell the banker what you want to do. So CGT MSc loan, the what good thing is this particular scheme, it does not require any collateral security. Earlier it was up to 2 crores, but the good thing for now the wedding entrepreneur says now up to 5 crores, there's a no need of any collateral security. So if your cost of project is big enough, if it is say maybe say more than 5 crores or so, then you can opt for the CGT MSc loan, for which up to 5 crores the bank will not ask for any collateral security. Now the apart from that, like I was telling, and particularly for say social upliftment and social, because the bank has got the developmental role also. So particularly for SC/ST entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs, the bank has got a dedicated scheme of Stand Up India. So it is meant for lady entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, and SC/ST community entrepreneurs. So this loan up to from 10 lakhs to 1 crore they can apply. And that I also emphasize you, somebody, anybody who's belonging to this particular uh, category of the loan, right now the bank are lagging behind, because the RBI also they give them the targets of achieving certain amount of, means like you have to disburse these many loan in Mudra, these many loan in Stand Up India. So banks are lagging behind in Stand Up India. So if you happens to be a candidate from say maybe a women entrepreneur or say SC/ST candidate, then obviously, because to meet their target, you are most likely to get the loan from the bank. So that's why now there's a big thrust, because existing government, they are very much giving the push to all those loans. Like sir was rightly saying earlier, that used to be the attitude or mindset of the banker, but now because of the government push, now the bankers also, now they are compelled to disburse the loan. Obviously they will do the due diligence in that, but now because over a period of 4 or 5 years, I am also observing the shift in that. So yeah, challenges. And so that is the scheme. Another scheme is there. So Stand Up India, and what good thing is there. Now you might have seen the so many startups have started coming in Indian market. Startup, the government has defined that if you are engaged in some activity which is very innovative in the sense you are engaged in an activity prior to that, means nobody has done earlier before that. And if your activity or say maybe your unit is registered with DPPIT, that is Department of Promotion of Internal Trade, then we have opened a dedicated branch. Earlier it was in Chennai, and recently, some 3 or 4 months back, we have opened this startup branch in Gurgaon also. So if your product is novel, or a new product or a new service, and you think that, and you are already registered with DPPIT, then with very good features, if you go to our startup branch, then they'll be giving you a loan up to rupees 50 crores. So that is a very good thing. I also appreciate this gesture of our bank. It is situated in Gurgaon. So you can also, if you type, you will get the address on the internet. So we call it the Udan loan or the startup loan. So these are all the things available with the banks for SME sector. Now, before elaborating about that, I was talking about the challenge. Challenge, obviously, I do believe, I do expect, because the knowledge and lack of training, most of the bankers, they are reluctant to give the loan even to the good candidates. But there is a fault lying from the entrepreneur side also. Because of my experience, what I have observed, because we have been going and attending so many seminars, so we are getting so many views, different views from the entrepreneurs or maybe from the bankers also. uh, why uh, why the particular business financing fails? The reason is very, very, when I elaborated this reason to one of the seminars, everybody laughed and they did not expect. The reason lies in the communication. It is not the communication. What is the communication in this process is, because most of the entrepreneurs, they are unable to pass on their business idea or the concept in the mind of a banker in the exactly the same form what they're having in their mind. I repeat, because the entrepreneurs are unable to pass their business idea, what they have thought in their mind, exactly in the same form in the mind of the banker. So, because of this communication lag, what happens? The banker is unable to appreciate or understand the business model and it is success. So now, so since if this happens, so what happens? The promoter or the entrepreneurs, they take help of any consultant, financial consultant, and as you know, the financial consultant, they are much more interested about their fees rather than the success of the product of success of the project over a period of next 5 years or maybe 10 years. So because of this, now they will write some certain figures and present to the banker. And the banker also, when they feel that yes, all the figures they have, all are projected figures, they have no relation with the reality, then obviously they feel fear. Okay, some that it is something like, it is a playing like it is much become, it is less of a business proposition than much more of a speculative thing it becomes. Speculating means just like a lottery and all. Okay, if, should I give the loan, should I or should not? So that's why I request most of the time, because we are also going to the final year students of MBA institutes and engineering colleges also, कि whenever you prepare your project report, tell the right thing about your business idea, right thing about the market you are catering on, what is the price you are telling, the degree of truthfulness and reality you will be putting in the project report. A project report, I'm not talking about the 200 pages project report, maybe some 20 or 25, 10 or 15 pages, telling the reality or the exact from what you want to do. So that the banker and the entrepreneur of the promoter, they can come to the common platform. They can understand, okay, what you want to do. Obviously I do appreciate that, because if somebody is investing or taking risk, obviously doing business is not an easy job, rather than doing a say salary, say job, simple job, because in the job every month you get a salary, but somebody is doing the business means he's coming from salary to this, he's taking the more risk, he's not knowing. So that's why it becomes more important. So that is the challenge, obviously. Why I'm able to do that? Because we are also running a facilitation center in our, we are sitting in local head office. It is situated at Jantar Mantar. So we are also running a facilitating center in which every year we are some facilitating around 100 entrepreneurs. 50% entrepreneurs, they come with only the idea, and 50% are our existing customer, those who are doing their business for the last 15 to 20 years. And we have also seen the stories of our clients, like good graduates of passing out from the simple colleges. They, when they started their unit, they were having some 30 or 40 lakhs limit. Now they, I think 6 or 7 years back, they took that loan, and just 1 month back they sold their company to some Singapore company at the price of 2,000 crores. So at least we have some feel of that, ki, okay, where we commit mistake, the bank commit mistake, the promoter where they are wrong, and how we can bridge the gap, so that in future it should not happen. And there should be, and we should also like an enabler. So in the last, what should I say? What are the now emerging sectors you should focus? Right now, just our Prime Minister, when he was in Scotland, the COP is 26, it was Glasgow, it was. So there our country, there were some 200 countries that those participated in those events. It was around 2 years back in November 21. So our country also they took commitment of reducing carbon emission by 100 metric ton, 100 crore metric ton, sorry, 100 crore metric ton reducing carbon emission by 2030. So everybody, because now you can see the climate change you might have seen, observing. Climate change, it used to be the talk of only the European country or the developed country. But now the developed countries also now you might have been observing in there is a change in climate. Right now also I think we don't see any change in weather. September used to be very dry and beautiful. We used to see the blue sky. But I think today only we see the still the monsoon is persisting in our country. We see the hurricanes which are coming out of the way. So because what they analyze the temperature of the earth or the oceans, it should have been increased by 0.1% over our last 100 years. Now it has been increased during 15 to 20 years. So now it is the alarming side for everybody. So that's why our country, apart from along with other countries also, they were bound to reduce that. So why I'm telling, because now this commitment of country, it has given birth to the new industries. So one by one thing, now ethanol also came up. Now we call it the green financing. Now, if you are focused, if you are a new entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, if you focus on this industry, there is a high probability that you will be able to get a loan from the bank and you may do good or your industry will do good in the next 8 to 10 years. So the first one is biomass pellet. So biomass pellet and briquette, it is a very small investment business in which recently the NTPC is having some 20 to 23 power plants. So they are taking 5% biomass pellet. Is it nothing but you compress the biomass in the form of small pencil-like pellets and you give it to the thermal power plant. So thermal power plant, they are purchasing it at the price of 6 to 7 rupees pellet, and the big pellets also it is meant for the industry. So the biomass pellet project, it hardly requires some 2 to 3 crore investment in that. Another thing is the solar. If you venture into the solar, because solar also our country have revised their target. Earlier it was some 175 gigawatt we had to achieve by 2022. So now by 2030 the target has been revised from 500 gigawatt. You will be surprised to know even we are not having this capacity, means the solar panel manufacturing capacity in India. Earlier we used to import the panel from China, but now over the last 2 years, just to promote our domestic solar manufacturing market or just to promote the our infrastructure of manufacturing solar panels, the government has imposed the duty on that. So now the very big company like Adani, Reliance, and some small players also now they have started entering into the solar panel manufacturing, and some of the entrepreneurs they are also taking the technology and doing tie-ups along with some experienced professionals also for investing in solar. There are two types of solar: ground mounted solar is there and rooftop solar is there. Another thing is ethanol project. Obviously ethanol project is there. Ethanol project you can invest, but ethanol I will tell it is a very high investment. It's a high value investment. It is around some 100 crores in which you convert into this rice or food grain in the form of ethanol, and this ethanol is mixed in the ratio of 10% with petrol. So that is also a green financing. And the last but not the least, it will be around CBG, compressed biogas. You might have done CBG also. I think recently you might have heard that now the Reliance also coming up with some 100 CBG plants they will be putting in India. So, but CBG, you have to be very, very watchful because we are seeing this industry. We have talked with consultants also in this industry. The biomass of press made only, it is successful right now. So there are some technological issues also. So if you want to invest in CBG, you try to have a tie-up with some sugar mill who can supply you regular amount at a regular fixed price for a longer duration. So these are the green financing, which is the emerging sector. So I thought it will be good for you, those entrepreneurs who just want to enter into the business. So that is all from my side. So if you have any queries or any questions from your side, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Raviji. I think it was very, very exhaustive and very, very useful presentation. I think Even I also have got a lot of new information about green financing. I am sure State Bank of India as a pioneer lender to the MSME sector and other sectors must be, having a different mindset and different approach while dealing with the MSMEs. You have raised an issue of technology, facilitation. I'm sure technology is the key, and most of the banks are now, shifting to paper-based, processing, appraisal, and sanctions and documentation to technology-based, and which is, of course, improving the overall flow of, operations of the credit. So I think even in the time to come, this, inertia in the processing, application, sanctions, and the whole operation of availability of credit will certainly go down, and the flow of credit will improve. So that is one thing. Second thing, about the communication part that you mentioned, I think that is very important. People are lack of communication rather. I think that is the crux of the whole problem. People are not able to communicate and convey their idea, as you rightly said, about their business idea, about their business plan in an effective manner to the lender, to the branch manager, or to the banker. Without that, the banker is not going to appreciate your problem and your need and your. First thing is, of course, the banker has to have the positive approach about your project. Then, of course, he will go into the paper. Then he will go into the balance sheet. Then he will go into the securities. Then he will look at the details. But first is the first-hand impression about the feasibility, viability, your background, your personal credentials, your project feasibility, your future plan, your vision. That you should be able to, convey like a in a very very clear manner as a story, and with a trust. I mean, without even throwing big things, in a very practical way. I think Raviji would be the ideal person. In fact, people should get in touch with you because you are a trainer also to the bankers, and have put it in a very, very nice words as to how do we communicate. So that is the biggest problem. I think we'll request you to, come and take some session also on this as to how do we, how these MSMEs should be able to communicate. I'll request you, in fact, in some of our future programs, if you can come and guide them. This is a very important aspect. I fully agree. About the schemes that you mentioned, I agree that Mudra scheme is very useful for new first generation entrepreneurs up to 10 lakhs. Stand Up India, of course, as you say, banks are short of their achieving their targets, and it's up to 1 crore for women and SC/ST owned enterprises. People should apply. Women and SC/ST owned enterprises should apply, and I am sure they will 100% get the sanction without any problem, and that too under CGTMSE guarantee scheme. And the third, PMEGP is a wonderful scheme where people get 25% subsidy, also 15 to 25% capital subsidy. So that is another good scheme. All these three schemes should be utilized. The first thing is that you should start working on these proposals and applying. Then only we can talk to the people, those who are at the helm of sanctioning these facilities. So I think it was very interesting. Let me go back to Mr. Ankit Kapoor. Ankit ji, are you there with us?
Absolutely, I am right here.
Okay. So what do
Although
you
we are
have to?
short on time,
But
I would not take. I would try to wrap this up by 5, I guess, and like move on to question and answers. Thank you, Ravi ji, for the beautiful presentation. I think Mr. Ravi wrapped almost every bit of financing, ranging from project to green to collateral and collateral free. Left nothing untouched, and I really am thankful to Mr. Ravi for giving the audience the view of a banker.
but
But while I was hearing out you guys, I'd like to go back a little. I was trying to read the chat box, and this gentleman, Mr. Madan Lal, wrote a very real problem in the chat box, which I think we all fail to address by all means. So he said that yes, banks might be able
Ankit, we have lost your voice.
to hear me now. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now. Yeah, please go ahead.
The only time that I speak, the network glitches. Never mind. So he said that with collateral, no, only then the bankers entertain you for with a collateral free loan, which is a very real world problem. So I'll switch gears a little bit and go back to where these people are coming from, both sides, lenders and takers. So we lived in an era wherein business people applied for a lot of loans, collateral, no collateral, and then there were these big NPAs that happened, and which was when the bankers got very shied away from giving collateral free loans. And then now we are in an era of startups and Make in India and all these beautiful schemes that are being appreciated by the government. But if we drill this down, if we drill this down to basically two things, that is what it is. One is the MSME sector, that is the core machine of running the country, and the other is the startups that bring in the technology that Mr. Ravi and uh, Dr. Kaushal also addressed. So these are entirely the core two things that make the entire business ecosystem lively. Now, if we drill down even further to what all instruments are available specifically for these two things, MSME and startups, I repeat, then of course Mudra is one. The other is the PME GP, and of course CGT MSC, and these two or three schemes that Mr. Ravi also focused on and we know of. But if we are really going towards where our honorable Prime Minister wants our country to be going, if we are in the wake of the G20, if we want to become a supply chain partner traveling from the Middle East to Europe, if we want to become an absolute net zero country in the next 20 years, if we want to do projects like the Jal Jeevan mission, if we want to make the country entirely indigenous and self-reliant on itself, do we think that schemes like the Mudra loan, which is a social factor scheme, which is very helpful to the likes of it for people who start from scratch, all guns there. But do we think that schemes like these are sufficient for taking the country to the next level? Drilling this down to my own very personal example. So as I said, we are a clean tech energy company, but we do all sorts of clean technology. We are innovative. We have a patent filed with IIT Delhi. We do solar projects. We are green. We couldn't raise any debt instrument from any public private bank, let alone the communication gap. I might just be at a little disagreement here. If a businessman is able to sell his idea to his customers, I'm pretty sure he's able to sell his idea to the bankers. He's a general businessman is sitting day in and day out with investors. So probably sure if he's going to break the chains of moving to the next step, he's able to communicate whatever his mind is saying where he can take his business. So that's one. The other thing is the last resort that we had to go to. Now we have raised a 3% rate of interest debt from Singapore and doing convertible debentures from within the country. So this was the last resort after we could not secure any clear banking debt for the matter. But anyways, that's our personal experience. So drilling this back to startups. So if I will talk about specific facts and challenges that Electric Bee or people of the likes who start their journey very early on into the business community they face, is that generally banks require a 3-year balance sheet. There is no specific norm or standard that requires this. It's just for the sake of security or credit check of the banks. So if I drill this down, I think there needs to be a very rock solid system that gets away the banks from these. I'm not saying the bank should take a lenient hand on this, because of course the money needs to be returned, right? So I think that there needs to be a very rock solid credit check, depending on one, of course, the sales, the other, the purchase and sales, the credit payment instruments, not just dependent on how much old a company or a startup is, because then the charm of being innovative and fresh is absolutely lost there if a company has to necessarily wait for 3 years to secure a debt and move to the next level, right? So I think that's one. The other thing is, if we are really talking about green financing, then I will speak of a specific example. There needs to be project financing that needs to be happening very, very critically. When I say this, what I mean is, uh, there are companies who are working with the government, who are doing green projects, who are doing green projects with the construction and industrial sectors. Even though they cannot secure secured or unsecured debt, either ways from banks, there could be a project financing instruments that the bank and the customer can work amongst themselves. That if a customer probably has a purchase order of X crores, and then we could finance it for 20% basis whatever sales and the payments that come in. So I think these are two very key solutions that are need of the hour, not just limiting to green solutions, but also to entrepreneurs who are new in their journey and who want to take a step ahead, who want to go on the next level. Uh, so I think that's from my part, and I really appreciate Mr. Ravi for from shedding the light upon this Udan loan, which seems very, very prospective, and I think could be help to the entire business community. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I think we are 2 minutes late from the decided time.
No, thank you, Ankit. Thank you very much. I think I will hand over to Mr. Ravi Kaushal to maybe give some observations on very important issues that you have raised. Over to you,
Yes,
Ravi.
yes. Two things he has raised. One thing is, we are also seeing this problem with not only our bank, other bank also. You are telling means at least 3 years somebody is required. There are two types of company. One is the existing one, another is the new one company. The company which is already in business, say maybe for last 3 years or maybe more than that, and suppose they want to do the expansion of their business, there may be two possibility. One possibility is they want to expand their business. There is a chances of increasing the market size, or maybe they want to further penetrate into the market. Another thing, maybe possibility, there is want to diversify in some other project, other product. Sorry. In that case, it is justified to ask for the last 3 years financial statement, means profit and loss and balance sheet. But if somebody is new, suppose somebody wants to set up a CVG project for which he is not aware, might be he was engaged in manufacturing of socks, but now he wants to set up a unit in Mughal Sarai, maybe Shahjahanpur, of setting up a 5 TPD plant of CVG. So in that case, he'll not be able to give you last 3 year profit and loss or balance sheet or anything, but he'll be able to give the only the projection. Right now we are in 23 and 24, so he'll be able to give the projection for 24, 25, 25, 26 financial year and so forth. So if some bank or somebody is asking for the last 3 years balancing from him, I think it is the height of insanity. He'll not be able to give you. So that is not happens in that. Both the type of funding is done.
So,
And I
Raviji,
also,
so if it is a new business or a new line of activity
yes,
or a new company, so
okay.
for last 3 years balance sheets can be dispensed with.
There's a
You can give
no point.
future
Yes,
projection. Okay, okay.
absolutely. Only there's a no
That
point in that.
that is important. Yeah. So
And another thing he was telling about the green financing is that there should be a separate project finance for that. Obviously, just like solar, we are having a dedicated scheme. Like 5 or 6 years back, we have got a the low cost deposit from the World Bank. On the basis of that, we have constituted a very special scheme for solar financing. And our most of the branches now they are continuing the solar financing for that. Just I cited you example of one unit. 6 years back, they asked us for 30 lakh loan. They were from Southex. So right now their company, now they just partnered with the Renew Power, the Suman Sinha's company. And I think just 6 months back, they sold their company to 2000 crores. Another example, one of the college passes. I'm telling you the real things. It is happening. Not like a base, anything based on a hypothesis. 6 months back, a graduate from passed out from Kirodimal College, Delhi University. He came to us. Yes, I am having somebody. I'm not having any capital, but I'm having a brother in Australia who will be bringing some 2 or 3 crores. Whether I'll be doing something in solar project because I'm having a prior experience of Singapore in telecommunication. I used to erect the towers for them. We extended 9 crores loan to them. Right now, if you go from Delhi to Jaipur Road, Hotel Highway King is there, either on upside and downside. His solar project is there. It is financed by us. Bikaner Urmul Dairy is there. He installed that project. He got finance from us. IVL Dhanseri. This is in Calcutta. 2 megawatt project he has installed. So there are many in that I can tell you. It happens. And but the examples I'm telling you, these are all the true stories. I can give you the number, count number, just you can talk to them also.
So there are good experiences, there are bad experiences also. In fact,
No,
what
no,
we
no, no, I'm not telling. That's what
yeah,
I'm telling. Experience is only experience. It is
yes,
our effort to make them good. It
yes,
is our
yes,
experience or our commitment which makes them good. We talk to them. That's why there should be a willingness for that from
absolutely.
both the sides. For the from the banker side, I'm telling you, but from the promoter side, like we are also telling, and our sir also like Pradeep Sharma right now today is not there, so he has written a book on entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So the best, the one of the most important quality is perseverance. You are
Mhm.
never an entrepreneur is never ever, whether he is in 1900 or 2000 or 2100, he's never ever will be giving the utopia or the good situation or the good enabler situations. But his condition is never losing the hope and making a way out of it.
Yes, absolutely. So I think we have exceeded a time a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes, and I will now go back to Varun in case you have some questions from the audience. Can we take up those questions before we
Yes,
conclude?
sir. Yes.
Yes, please tell me what is the question.
So we have one from Mr. Madan Lal. I think that has been addressed.
Mhm.
Uh, Sir, there is one more question from Mr. Madan Lal. May I know more about Udan loan on 50 CR, which is and who is a nodal authority for the same?
Ravi ji?
This actually the startup branch, it is situated in Gurgaon. So if you just search on the internet, you will be able to get the number, means the contact person. You can just go and visit them. Right now, to everything you can have a location for that. And some of the select feature I'll be able to tell you what this scheme is about. Uh, Actually, the name is given to MSME Udan. So the condition is the unit should be registered with DPPIT, that is Department of Promotion of Internal Trade,
As a
because this
startup,
department as a
as a
startup,
start.
yeah,
Yes.
your name is, you can take the here also during my session for the last half an hour I'm telling the word startup again and again, but this startup doesn't necessarily be a startup defined by the DPPIT. DPPIT defines your startup until and unless your product or service is not innovative. Innovative in the sense your product or service has not been created by earlier by
It's a
anybody.
new one.
Yeah, it's a new one. Then only it will be categorized. And once you register with them, automatically there will be incubator will be coming to you. There will be people, consultant, they'll be approaching you. There is a website for DPPIT. There are, I think some there are 23 or 24,000 units are there which are already registered with that. And with this, because this is must, and this will not only entails you a loan from the bank, but it will also entails you so many subsidy or the grants from MSME DC also. MSME DC is present in most of the district and almost all district. We are having some 744 district in India. So MSME DC Okla is also there. So if you go to them, if you are defined as an startup or registered with the PPIT, so you will be able to get those grants from them. So coming back to the silent feature of the scheme, so your turnover should be less than 100 crore. That is the one scheme, and your unit should be 10 years old. That is also there. And maximum loan, I told you, as you're telling, 50 crores is the thing. The facility for which the loan may be extended is, suppose if you want to hire the team, you want to purchase the equipment, you want to do some certain expenses on your marketing and sales, and another, yeah.
Sir, one side you are saying should be 10 years old, other side
No,
you are
no,
saying it is innovative.
it is
Then the
not more than 10
innovative,
years. It is not more than 10 years old. I mean,
so
up
what
to 10
does,
years.
I again repeat.
Up to 10
I told
years.
you the product or the services should be innovative or the new. Your
yeah,
company may be old.
okay,
Company
Up to
and
10
product
years.
are two different things.
right, okay.
Yeah.
What is the full form of DP, this DPPIT or DPIT?
The Department of Promotion of Internal Trade,
Oh,
DPIIT.
okay, okay.
This is under the Ministry of Commerce. This is one department of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, where you have to apply for registration as a startup. So once you are registered as a startup, then you fall in the category of this eligibility for this Udan loan.
Right, thank you, sir.
It's very easy process. You can do it on your internet only without going there. They
Okay,
only ask you to, they only ask you to upload your documents, show your new project, a concept about the product and what is new in that, and it
okay,
should meet the criteria of definition of the DPIIT. So they will issue the certificate to you online.
okay, right. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. So I think if there is no other question, Varun, do you have any other question or we come to the close then?
No, sir, no other questions, sir.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Thank you very much. I
Thank you,
think I am
everyone.
so happy about the detailed explanations given by Ravi Kaushalji. I think we'll keep bothering you in future also. And in case any participants are interested to get in touch with Ravi ji, they can write to him or they can write to Power to SME so that we can connect. And also Ankit, Mr. Ankit Kapoor, of course, a wonderful presentation. Ankit ji, you are a very practical person. I think it was a blessing in disguise. I mean, on a joke, it was a blessing in disguise that you didn't get any loan from India. So you could tap the Singaporean, line of credit or maybe bonds that you were mentioning at a cheaper rate.
Looking at the brighter side, sir.
Yeah.
Always, always.
So always.
You
That is
see
a good choice. That is a
resiliency,
good choice.
Yeah.
you see resiliency is every entrepreneur's middle name. It's as
Yes.
simple as that.
Yes. So
But
thank you very much.
appreciate everyone for having us out here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Varun. Over to you now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, everyone, the recording will be available with you in a day or two, and you will be getting an email. And plus, we have a daily newsletter, SME Cover, that brings you comprehensive news articles, blogs, and infographics on the daily SME news that you can, know to run your business efficiently. So you can subscribe with the link given in the chat box. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you for the insightful and knowledgeable address by all the speakers. Thank you, Kumar sir, for chairing the session.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you, Shivani. Thank you, all the team that has put this program. Okay.
Thank you, sir.